All right, pollster Nate Silver warned this week that Biden's approval ratings are so low that it may be time for him to reconsider seeking re-election. This is something I've been saying over and over and over again. I think it's impossible to believe that Joe Biden is going to be still remaining and on the ticket. He just hit a new all-time low in approval, 37.4%. Only 37% of Americans approve of his job performance. So Nate Silver said dropping out would be a big risk, but there's some threshold below which continuing to run is a bigger risk. Are we there yet? The polling guru asked. I don't know, but it's more than fair to ask. See, here's the problem that the Democrats have with kicking Biden to the curb. What do you do with Kamala? What do you do with Kamala Harris? How is the Democrat Party going to tell the angry progressives we're throwing the black woman to the curb? We're kicking Kamala Harris to the curb. How's that going to fly? If they're mad about Israel, can you imagine what they're going to do if Kamala Harris is taken out like yesterday's trash to the alley? I mean, seriously, they got a big problem on their hands. To me, I've always been convinced that Biden doesn't stay in there. You know why? It's inconceivable. It doesn't make he's going to lose. Joe Biden's going to get beat by Donald Trump on November 5th. But you know what our insurance policy is? If you're on my side, Kamala Harris. They don't dare touch Joe Biden because they'd have to get rid of Kamala Harris. They would have to come up with Gavin Newsom, Michelle Obama, somebody else. And then they're stuck with the problem of what to do with Kamala. And they don't dare diss her. You can't insult the black woman in 2024 progressive world. They'll lose their minds. They'll go bonkers. And whoever they do put in there doesn't stand a chance. So don't get me wrong. I hope they're not smart enough to replace Joe Biden, because I believe with all my heart Joe Biden is going to lose in a few months. And again, I think our insurance policy is Kamala Harris. There's also lots of speculation about Trump and Biden and what happens next. There's a whole lot of speculation about where we go from here. I saw a clip last night on Fox News that I want to share with you that I can't believe. Doug Schoen is a Democrat strategist, and he said something that blew my mind. I want to play this for you and see what you think, because the Democrats are starting to panic. Nate Silver over at 538 is now suggesting that Biden's approval numbers, his approval rating is so low that it probably is time for the Democrats to seriously consider replacing him. That would be a huge risk, Nate Silver argues, but it could be a bigger risk to stick with Joe Biden. Let me say the quiet part out loud. Joe Biden's going to lose. I don't see anything happening that changes the trajectory of Trump winning on November 5th. And I believe Trump is going to win big. So I want you to hear this Democrat strategist. Now, again, he's sort of a Fox News Democrat. He's like palatable to the Fox News audience. Every time I see him, I think, well, you don't sound like James Carville. You don't sound like a typical Democrat. But you know the guy with the glasses, he kind of looks like Mr. Peepers. Nice guy. But here's Doug Schoen saying if Biden doesn't respond to the inflation problem and the economy, they'll be in trouble. Check this out.
There needs to be a program on the economy, on inflation, and on the border that is rational, nonpartisan, and responds to people's concerns. If Joe Biden doesn't do it, I don't believe he's going to be reelected.
What? You think he's going to come up with a policy in 5 months? How do you do that in a matter of days or weeks? The election, this is June 12th. that is one of the most nonsensical things. But it got me thinking when I played the clip. And he's a nice guy, incidentally. I don't mean to make fun of him. I'm no Tom Cruise. I mean, he looks like Mr. Peepers, but I look like Mel Torme, which is not a compliment. And I do. And go Google Mel Torme if you're under 40. What was his nickname? I think they called him the Velvet Fog, but I always thought it was the Velvet Frog. I look like a frog. I admit it. I know it. I know my shortcomings. I'm no model. So I can get away with calling somebody like Doug Mr. Peepers. But he's a nice guy. And I got to thinking about what he said. And I want to ask you a direct question. Is there anything that Biden and the Democrats can do between now and Election Day which changes the inevitable victory of Donald Trump? 1-800-655-MIKE. Simple question. I hope you'll flood my phone lines with your theory. Let me ask it again. Is there anything the Democrats can do to change the course of history? Because you and I both instinctively believe, I think, that Trump is going to win and that Republicans are going to have a great election this November 5th. Do you think there's anything possible the Democrats can do to change that?